It says, I have a question about the misuse of one verse of the Gita. And even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. And that's true. It is truly a misuse of that verse. Because that's the verse, no, api chet suduråchåro, no, of the Gita. And Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said that understanding, even if he's, what is this? Even if one commits the most abominable actions, Guru Maharaj said that's a misreading of the verse, more or less. He said, according to your judgment, he's committed the most abominable actions. But you've already said he's an ananya-bhåk devotee. So how can he be committing the most abominable actions? The idea is Chipram bhavati, how's the next verse? Chipram bhavati dharmatma sasvach-chhåntim negacchati tontiya pratigṛhṇāti name bhukte pṛcchati. If you declare that the ananya-bhåk devotee is only, if you declare that he's that what he is, that he's an ananya-bhåk devotee, that he's an exalted soul. If you can declare that, Chipram bhavati dharma ma sasvach-chhåntim negacchati, very quickly you'll become properly situated. Not that the ananya-bhåk devotee has done something abominable. It's the perception of others that maybe he says something that they cannot perceive. Like, for instance, if it's the time of some kind of patriotic duty, if the ananya-bhåk devotee says, well, they're higher than their patriotic duty is what they're doing. They're preaching to the society. They're bringing them divine consciousness of devotional service. That's more important than the so-called patriotic duty, that he's not supporting the nationalistic cause, etc. But that's not his responsibility. But others may say, oh, this is very abominable. He's taking young men who could be sent off to the army to fight in a war. He's taking them and making them into priests or devotees. How terrible is that? It's like, well, first, let me get this straight. When is there a time when you're never sending off young people to war? I mean, I can't remember, at least in my peaceful country, I can't remember. I'm only 70, going to be 78 years old. I do remember brief interludes of perhaps 4 or 5 years, maybe, that the country wasn't at war. The rest of the time, the country was at war, attacking such terrible places as Panama. Dangers to the world. What was their crime? Oh, they thought maybe that the Panama Canal should not belong to Panama. The Americans thought that. And the Panamanians thought something else. So that was a cause for some strife. You can't take the Panama Canal from us. It belongs to us, said the, anyway. So when is there a time when somebody's not going to rub nationalism and the flag in your face? When will that happen? And if you say something about it, then the api chet suduråchåro verse may apply to you because you're diverting people from their patriotic duty. But the Vaishnava sees that more than patriotic duty, more than nationalism, more than anything, there is a need for establishing your eternal relationship of service to the Lord. And we say that, and sometimes people are very disturbed. Oh, these people are like parasites in the society. They actually say like that. And they'll even say that someone who's an ananya-bhåk devotee, I won't say that's me or anyone close to me, but because anyone who's close to me, they must have some bad habits. But there may be some ananya-bhåk devotees like Guru Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj, and others who might also say the same thing, that your nationalism is not as important as the development of one's eternal relationship of service to the Lord. And they may say, oh, this person is a parasite to society, etc. Then that's when the person where the chipram bhavati dharmatma sasvach-chhåntim negacchati, that person, if you say, wait a minute, this ananya-bhåk devotee is always worshipful in all circumstances, then chipram bhavati dharmatma, very quickly you become properly situated. Now that's my understanding of Guru Maharaj's application of this verse, which Srimati Saraswati is asking about. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. Well, we're not applying that. We're not applying that to ordinary people who do devotional service and go around the corner and smoke cigarettes and eat a Subway sandwich or something like that. We're not applying that to them.
Maharaj?
We're applying this to ananya-bhåk devotees. That's what the verse is talking about. And those are not ananya-bhåk devotees who are busily engaging in different activities, which shall not be mentioned. What is the question? Someone said?
Lakshmi Kanti Didi, I think, asked that question.
She what?
Lakshmi Kanti asked that question.
My question was because of that. You just clarified to me, because like everybody can just apply that verse to any person they like or dislike accordingly. So you have just clarified to me that that verse applies to ananya-bhaktas.
Yes, but other people may not apply it to ananya-bhåk devotees. They may apply it to avatars and to incarnations of Godhead walking in this earth.
Yeah, exactly my point. I have been seeing the application of that verse very
Liberally.
Yes, deliberately.
But, well, here in the United States, they don't use the word liberal. They don't use liberal or liberally. They use the word socialist or communist. So that was one of the questions, but then there was other questions. I think, where was the other questions I got? Oh, here are some questions of today. What is the meaning of the word Om Vishnave Namaha when applying tilak on the body? Remembering, I would assume it's remembering Lord Vishnu, like that you're just like the other names of, they're different names of the Lord when you're applying tilak. This is one of them. There are others. Or there's Om Trivikram. It's not Om Trivikram Maharaj Namaha. It's Om Trivikranaya or something like that. Namaha. These are different names of the Lord when you're applying tilak. Don't ask me to repeat all the names. I of course remember them all every time I apply tilak all over my body, but at the particular moment, one person was once had tilak on his head, young boy, and Hari Charan said to him, "You're supposed to put tilak in all over your body in different places." And the boy said to Hari Charan, who hadn't yet applied tilak, he said, "At least I have something. You have nothing." So you have to be careful. You have to be careful when saying these names of God while applying tilak to your body. People may take them out of, may take those names of God out of context, whatever that means, but you know. Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Narayanaya Namaha, Om Trivikramaya Namaha. You know, different names you're putting on different places on your body, right? Om Keshavaya Namaha. I mean, all these different names of the Lord you're applying when you apply tilak. And then there's a tilak mantra, right? How many people do that tilak mantra when they and apply tilak to their body? Anyone? Oh, you do. Wow, that's amazing. I'm not supposed, I'm not surprised. I mean, everyone does. Okay, then what about, do you call the sacred rivers when you do Achaman?
Yeah, if I don't have Ganga gel already.
Oh, how would you, if you had Ganga gel, how would you transport it? Because I'm also heard from Guru Maharaj that, you know, that first of all, Ganga jal can't just be transported in a plastic bottle or something like that. It needs a special container. And then there's a Bengali, one thing I read in a Bengali dictionary, it said, Manchanga Chagatite Ganga. It said, if your mind is pure, then the Ganges, Manchanga ta gatite Ganga, in your little pot, you know, and I think these little pots that are in the highest definition of acceptable pots, they're, what are they, half copper and half some other metal. Do you know what that, half copper and half what? Anyway, you've seen it like the little cows that they sometimes have on the altar that they pour Ganga on the altar. Anyway, if you have a clean mind, then Ganga Jal will go into your pot. So that was one. I didn't hear that from any book. I just saw it I was looking at Bengali aphorisms. I had a Bengali to English dictionary and had that. And I can't find it anywhere else, exact same mantra. It said, Manchanga ta gatite Ganga. A catchy little saying. If your mind is pure, then the Ganga will go into your pot. So, I mean, all right. Anyway, assuming someone did bring back some Ganga Jal from India when they went there and they didn't bring it in. Ah, there it is. Let's see that close up. Nice. Ah, see, it's copper. Is it pure copper? Is it just copper or does it have another metal?
Not sure.
But it looks like copper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's an official Ganga pot.
Gomukhi.
Okay. So anyway, say if you don't have Ganga Jal, then you call the sacred rivers. What is it? Can you say that?
Gange cha Jamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswati Namade Sindhu Kavre Jalesmin Sanidim Kuru.
Wow, nice. And what about the mantra for changing Brahman threads?
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, I have that written down, and I use it when I change Brahman thread, but I don't change them so regularly.
Yeah.
Because the Brahman threads are different than what you buy in the shops in India. They have the pratigṛhṇāti, which is a special knot that you can see online. I think one of our devotees shows you how to make one of those Brahman threads. It basically look like they're done in such a way that it looks like a figure 8.
Yeah.
And then it's tightened and has three strands of three threads in each strand, right?
Yeah.
And then 9 strands. The ones they sell in the shops are 6.
Yeah.
You could say, well, I'll take 3 of 6 and I'll make 2 of 9. That would work, except they're not exactly the right knot. But that could be, I guess that could be acceptable. But then when we make them ourselves, they don't have that little twisty thing on them. They cut off, the threads are cut off, and you make them according to your own size. But this is all technical information. Okay, I was asking about, because it's all just more unrelated things with this. What is the meaning of Om Vishnave Namaha? Okay, then there was another question. After being so many years in association with Gurudev and devotees, could you please kindly speak about what you consider to be the advice for a person aspiring to serve the devotees? Well, I have many thoughts about this, actually, about serving the devotees. First, I would go back to, something maybe not so related, but it is related. If you're preaching to somebody that you don't know, a new person, what is a good way of preaching to that person? I would say the first thing is you might keep your mouth quiet for a little time and listen to what that person says of what is their perceptions and what they want and what they want to do. Because Guru Maharaj said, Srila Maharaj, what we heard from Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said Guru Maharaj's approach was first let the person speak. First let this person speak. And when you're debating someone, you don't want to just present your position first. You want to first let the person speak, and then you'll address that person according to what they say. Now, I would say in trying to serve the devotees, a good way of Jai Dandavat Karuna, how are you?
Dandavat, Maharaj.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Good.
Yeah. How are you, Maharaj?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's a little cold here, but and people came in the house and they said, oh, it's cold there, but I don't perceive it as being so cold. Maybe because I spent some time in London. So anyway, but the first thing when you approach somebody is you should let them speak and see, so to speak, see what their perception is, what they want, what they're looking for. And I would say in trying to serve devotees, first of all, if the person is intimately related with you, could be maybe a wife or maybe a very good friend or something, then you may know something about their desires or their wants or etc. And you may be able to serve them according to their perception, right? I'm not saying that service to the devotees is of only topical interest and we're only interested in serving them according to their mundane preconceptions. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, well, one way I've kind of looked at it is, suppose you're looking at a jewel, like a diamond or ruby or an emerald, and it's cut in such a way, it's got, what do they call it? Many facets, right?
Yeah.
And each of those facets is reflecting light in a different way. So I would say in approaching devotees, devotees also are, when you consider all devotees, they're multifaceted. No, it's not that necessarily two devotees think exactly the same way. Everyone has their own perception, but everyone also has their own way of how they're executing devotional service. In particular, you can say, well, aren't we dealing with the absolute platform? Yes, we are in one sense, although I may not be on it. Let me just get a glass of water. You can say, well, isn't devotional service on the absolute platform? Yes, but devotees are also serving the Lord according to their own, ultimately, according to their own ideal, you might say. People have different ideals, and you can say, what's that mean? Well, we're not on that platform, but then there's some people serving in Dasha Ras, or somebody serving in Sakya Ras, somebody serving in Vatsalya Ras, and I guess maybe someday somebody's serving in Madhurya Ras, etc. Or some people are acharyas are on that platform. But everyone has their own perception of how to engage themselves in devotional service. So if you're talking and dealing with a child, then you'd want to approach that child according to their of what will help them in their devotional service, how you can help them. Just like we see that when meeting with devotees, it says different advanced devotees, they would offer their dandavats to persons, embrace others. They would deal with devotees according to their relationship. Somebody is their superior, they'll offer their dandavats to that person. Somebody who is their equal, they'll embrace that person, that person. And others who are their juniors, that person may offer their dandavats to that devotee, to you, for instance. So obviously, there's different service relationships according to the person you're dealing with. So the question is, going back to the original question, would you please kindly speak about what you consider to be the advice for a person aspiring to serve the devotees? Well, as a general way, I would say how to serve the devotees would be, in a general way, if you consider the devotees as a group, well, then you maybe have you'll have a relationship with them. For instance, we always hear Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Gasham, Sakyam, Atman, Nivedanam. So obviously, somebody may be serving the devotees by chanting and engaging in kirtan with them. Maybe that person is a very, very, kindly disposed and a very nice singer. And maybe somebody else is preaching to the devotees, or talking with the devotees, or reading the Shastra to the devotees, etc. And maybe someone like, for instance, I remember Ramai, he's a pujari. He's always worshiping the Lord. That was also a wonderful service. And that was service to the community, because he was always there and always dependable to do that service. And then what was I just thinking? Oh, this morning, I woke up and suddenly Bhakti Chandan Parvat Maharaj, he was in my mind. He was a good friend. So he was in my mind. So, but I mean, all these times, there's so many ways of serving the devotees. And if I could remember to do that all the time, to serve the devotees, then I think I would be in a good place. But there's so many ways to serve the devotees. You just have to, be kindly disposed to doing that. If you're really predisposed to serving the devotees, you'll find ways of serving them, but it's not, it's not something we can necessarily. Could you kindly speak about what you consider to be the advice for a person aspiring to serve the devotees? Well, I would think if you know the devotees that you're trying to serve, either specifically or in a general way, then you'll be able to find out how to serve them. Especially, what is your capacity for service? Do you think that's important? I don't know. To the Param Vaishnavas, I'm almost I could almost be at a loss how to serve them, because I would think I'm really grossly unqualified to do that. But I see that those Param Vaishnavas extend service possibilities to us. They do that. It's coming from them also, from the Vaishnavas. They're giving us the opportunity to do service. And what is that? What is that opportunity? What is that verse? Can somebody say the whole verse? Dadāti pratigṛhṇāti. Do you know that? Can someone say that whole verse from the Upadeshamrita? I make the plea of being senile. But the basis of that relationship to the Param Vaishnavas is that we are presenting the raw materials, and what they give us back is prasadam. Whether we're revealing our mind and they're giving us advice, we're offering presents and they're accepting them. And what we get back is prasadam. I remember one time Govinda Maharaj, I was asked by one person to buy a fan, an electric fan for a person who was, doing some work there and need a fan. He was translating. And what Govinda Maharaj told me, he said, well, that's all right, but normally we would give whatever's new and good, we would give it to Sri Gurudev, and the other person would then accept prasadam from them. He said, whatever we buy something new, it's normally directed to Sri Gurudev. I thought that was, when Govinda Maharaj expressed that, I thought that was very beautiful. And what's the other thing I was thinking? On the level of, those are the 6 levels, what is it? Dadāti. Oh, offering, revealing our minds, and what we get back is advice, which is prasadam. We give some present, exchanging of gifts. Now, somebody once offered some donation to Guru Maharaj, and then they said to Guru Maharaj, well, what are you going to do with the money? Guru Maharaj said, that's not your business. Your business finished when you gave that offering to me. When you gave that offering to me, that was the end of your part in this relationship. You offered something to me. You offered some donation to me. What I do with the donation is my business. Now, that's a very frank way of saying it, isn't it?
Yes.
Guru Maharaj expressed that. And you can say, well, exchange of gifts. What's the exchange of gifts? All right, you gave a donation to Gurudev, and what you got back in exchange is sukriti. You got some sukriti from that. Does that make sense? That's an exchange of gifts. You gave some donation to the Vaishnava, you gave something to the Vaishnava, and what you got back is that Vaishnava's mercy and sukriti, okay? And the same thing with the giving them, what is it? Revealing one's mind offering gifts, and what is the other thing in that dadāti, pratigṛhṇāti? What's the other example given?
Inquiring confidentially, accepting
Yeah.
prasāda, bring prasāda.
Oh, prasāda.
Yeah.
And so, Guru Maharaj explained this whole relationship of offering raw materials to the higher plane and getting prasāda back. Now, so I think all these things relate to how one can serve the Vaishnavas. Then we had the verse of the Gita. What you consider to be the advices for a person aspiring to serve the devotees. I mean, there's some persons that you should ask that to better than me, because I personally feel that sometimes, I mean, so many persons like ashramars, they have so many devotees working with them and has 10 centers. One time, Madhusudha Maharaj, he said to Guru Maharaj, no, to Govinda Maharaj, he said to Govinda Maharaj, and what about ashram Maharaj? He has so many ashrams there in Mexico. I mean, he's ashram Maharaj and he has more than 10 ashrams in Mexico. And they say, what is your advice? What do you think? And it was about ashram Maharaj being the acharya of Mexico. And Govinda Maharaj says, if he will do that, I have no objection. Meaning, yes, I'm enthusiastic about that. Let him be the acharya for the ashrams, which he has established in Mexico. And when I'm in Mexico, I see that the devotees there, they consider that and they think that about Srila Shamars. They see him as their guide. But somebody could say, well, what about you? Myself, I'd say, well, maybe I have some disciples in the UK because they don't know me. But here in America, where they know me well. Anyway, I feel that if you asked ashramars how you could serve the devotees, then you'll get a really good answer. Because as soon as he gets to a place, he's either offering some service to the devotees, he's in the kitchen helping, he's, wherever he goes, he immediately rolls up his sleeves and he's trying to do some active service. I would consider him a good person to emulate. To me, he's somebody I would want to emulate because he's really good. He's really good at serving the devotees. Where I'm being asked to explain to how to serve the devotees, and I can say something, but I'm wondering how much application I actually do to my own advice. What's the advice? Oil your own wheel or something like that. Is there something like that?
Isn't that the squeaky wheel always gets the oil?
No, that's a different thing. It's like this. That's also true. They have that saying in Spanish. What is that saying they say? Something to the effect of "Quien chilla marma" or something like that. Do you know that verse? The child that's crying gets the milk.
El que no llora no mama.
Huh?
El que no llora no mama.
Yeah. Who doesn't cry? The child who doesn't cry doesn't get any of the breast milk. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Same thing, but on a little more, on a different level of understanding. But that's not what I was saying. I was saying that, you tell somebody to, that you should do this, and then they could say to you, hey, oil your own wheel or something like that. Like, you're giving advice to me, but I don't have to accept your advice, but you could do well by accepting your own advice. You can't correct others, but you can correct yourself. So something I can give nice answers and everything to questions, but how much practical realization I have of these things, I don't know, because back to that child saying to the devotee, well, at least I have something, you have nothing. Yeah. That kid had tilak on his forehead, but he saw the other person had no tilak anywhere on his body. So he said, at least I have something, you have nothing. So what other questions do we have? Tell me, somebody can say, well, I didn't like your answer, or I don't think you answered that question right or completely, or could you elucidate? That's a nice way of saying, could you elucidate more on that subject? Is there any question that somebody wants to, one of these questions, somebody wants to continue asking that question, or do we have another question?
Maharaj, the verse is on the chat. I just found it and I posted there with the translation. The verse that you were talking about, the Upadeshan. But I have a question that I don't know how it came to think about that, but I was thinking about Chota Haridas. This is what I was thinking. We see all the characters in the Chaitanya Charitamrita teaching us some kind of virtue or like, I don't know, like I was thinking about archetypes. So what is the teaching, or what we can learn from Chota Haridas?
Okay. Well, one thing Guru Maharaj said, where it says that it says that, what is it? 3.5 Vaishnavas were, do you know that about the 3.5 Vaishnavas? Can you say that, Devashis, the Oriyan Vaishnavas?
Yeah, was Shiki Mahiti was one,
and his sister Madhavi, she's the half. She's
right.
the half.
Yeah,
and
I forget the other.
Is it Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar? I don't know. But Guru
Ramananda was from Orissa, isn't he? So
yeah,
maybe it's Ramananda.
Let me ask, somebody can look on Google. Let me just see. 3.5 devotees dear to Mahaprabhu. I don't think I'll find the answer here, but I'll put it in. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 3.5 very confidential devotees. The 3 were Swarup Damodar, Sri Ramananda Roy, Sikhi Mahiti, and Sikhi Mahiti's sister, Madhavi. All right. So there's the answer. 3.5 devotees. Now, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said this was propaganda to satisfy the Oriyan devotees. To say 3.5 devotees were dear to Mahaprabhu, they're all among the Oriyan devotees. And Guru Maharaj said, and they're the confidential devotees. And this list doesn't include, for instance, Gadadhar Pandit, etc. But one other person says Madhavi Devi, the sister of Sikhi Mahiti. And that's who was Chota Haridas was getting rice from. He went on the instruction of Bhagavan Acharya, I think it is. He went to ask Madhavi Devi for rice to cook for Mahaprabhu. Because he was inviting Mahaprabhu to lunch or like that. And why would he ask for special rice? Because when rice is when they're going to offer rice to the Lord or to his exalted devotees, they use a special kind of rice. Most rice is all intact because it's been partially boiled to take the paddy husk off of it. But there's also a mechanical way of doing that, because you might not want to, in those times, they didn't want to offer the rice that was dehusked by partially boiling it, because that was considered cooked by a possible non-devotee. So they wanted to use rice where the husk had been dehusked mechanically, which is more difficult to take the husk off it. And some of the Param Vaishnavas, like Madhavi Devi, she would have that kind of rice. And so Bhagavan Acharya sent, it's Bhagavan Acharya, I believe, he sent Chota Haridas to go to Madhavi Devi to get that special kind of rice. But then when Mahaprabhu was being served, he said, "Oh, this rice is very nice. Where did you get it?" Because Mahaprabhu could tell that's a very nice rice, that it was, not the normal kind of rice where the husk has been removed by partially boiling. And I mean, that rice is generally a little bit nicked or something because it's being dehusked by mechanical ways. At least this is the explanation I've heard. But Mahaprabhu said, "They're very nice rice. Where do you get it?" "Oh, I didn't get it. Chota Haridas got it." "Where'd he get it?" "Oh, he asked Madhavi Devi for the rice." And I mean, Madhavi Devi is such an exalted devotee that she's mentioned among at least the list of Oriyan devotees, 3.5 were confidentially related with Mahaprabhu. So she's an elderly Vaishnavi. She's not a young woman. She's an elderly Vaishnavi. She's considered an exalted devotee. And Chota Haridas went there to get rice from her. But, what was the conversation and why would it be considered wrong that Chota Haridas, we assume that he's a younger man and he's there and he's getting rice from Mahaprabhu from Madhavi Devi. So, what happened there that Mahaprabhu could, so to speak, want to make an example of Chota Haridas? Who can answer that? I can't answer that, but we heard Guru Maharaj one time say, and this explanation of Guru Maharaj is so unique and it's so different from, say, Christianity, that we heard that there was a conversation between Jesus Christ and Judas, right? Where Christ, according to Guru Maharaj, he said Christ, more or less asked forgiveness from Judah, that I used you for my own purposes. Has anyone heard that lecture comment of Guru Maharaj?
Yes,
it's in one of the books, I believe.
Might be, yeah.
Maybe, so we would say in a similar way, we could possibly say that Mahaprabhu used Chota Haridas for his own reasons. What are those reasons? It said after that, none of the devotees wanted to freely mix with women, meaning they're not going to try to exploit women. even in dreams, they wouldn't dare to do so because of the example of Chota Haridas. And the conversation is so interesting when Mahaprabhu, after a year, Chota Haridas is already gone, completely despondent. He's gone to the Triveni. He's drowned himself in the Triveni. And then almost a year later, or what would have been a year or so, the Mahaprabhu says, oh, bring Chota Haridas to see me. And somebody then explains to Mahaprabhu, oh, he's no longer around. He left. It is said that maybe he drowned himself. He committed suicide because, there's a conversation that they're walking by the ocean or by the beach, and they hear Chota Haridas singing, right? And somebody said, oh, because he was so sinful and he committed suicide or something like that, now he's become a Brahma Rakshasa. He's being punished as he's become a Brahmin ghost or something, malevolent Brahmin ghost, and he's singing. And then I think it's Swarup Damodar says, no, this opinion is completely wrong. Nobody like him who has died in a holy place could become a Rakshasa or a ghost. But then later when Mahaprabhu says, where is he? Bring him to me. They said, oh, he's gone. He left. And it is said that he committed suicide. And then it says Mahaprabhu smiled and he said, yes, this is only solution or the only course of action for someone who, wantonly, engages in loose relationships with women or something. Doesn't use those words, but Mahaprabhu says this is the reaction for that kind of activity. But we're not really sure what that kind of activity is and why is Mahaprabhu smiling and everything like that. We can only conclude that Mahaprabhu is, through this pastime, is teaching others a lesson. Now, if you read that story of Chota Haridas, first of all, normally I would say most people who read it, their mind is going to be, to use not a good choice of words, but I will say it this way. Someone who reads that story, their mind is going to be blown. Their mind is going to be blown. They're going to be thinking, what happened? I can't understand. This thing is way beyond me. I don't know what's going on in this example, in this story about Chota Haridas. That's most people's reaction. People say to me, oh, what happened with Chota Haridas? We can't understand it. Well, I think it's also written in that way so that you're made to think like that. You're made to really ponder this issue. It's not something that will come to you very easily. Like what did Guru Maharaj said, it's not going to be like a sweet ball that you can just pop in your mouth and easily chew up and digest. There's not going to be a Chota Haridas. It's not going to be a story like that. It's not going to be something that you could easily understand. It's going to boggle your mind, and it's going to make you think in such a way that it says, after that incident, devotees wouldn't have dealings with women, even in their dreams, and we don't need to talk about what kind of dreams those are, because I'm sure young men have had those kind of dreams. So anyway, without getting vulgar, let's just say that this story is one of the things in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that is really going to drive the point home to you. This is Madhavi, one of the 3.5 exalted devotees of Orissa, who's mentioned as being very dear to Mahaprabhu, an older woman, an older Vaishnavi. And who could have, how can we even imagine some wrong dealing with her? We can't. And that's part of Mahaprabhu's example of Chota Haridas. And Chota Haridas is no ordinary devotee either. He's someone that's dear to Mahaprabhu. He's not just some, oh, he just got here, he's a new devotee, he didn't know better. No, he's not in that category either. He's an advanced Vaishnava who was a personal associate of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu singled him out for an example. So what more do you have to say about that? What more do you have to say about that? Can somebody here very concisely in 10 words or less give me a resume about the whole thing with Chota Haridas? No, you can't do it. That's the whole point. You can't easily explain what happened with Chota Haridas. It's more vivid than even what happened with Christ and Judas. It's so vivid, you know. And why is Mahaprabhu smiling when he hears that, oh, he's passed away, he's given up his life? Why is Mahaprabhu smiling? And why is he saying, oh, this is the only recourse for someone who, you know, this happens with? We were told that somebody, you know, about Vishnu John, somebody suggested that he followed the example of Chota Haridas, and Srila Prabhupada said, this is not to be done. Someone is not to follow the example of Chota Haridas. They're not to imitate him. They're not to think, oh, I fell down with a woman. The only thing I can do is go drown myself. You're in the Triveni. No, this is not an example for you. It's not that you're supposed to imitate the Param Vaishnavas. This is to drive a point home to you. But Prabhupada said, no, this is not to be done. This is not, someone should not think that the example of Haridas literally applies to me, that if I have some relationship with a woman, that I become weak and I fall down with a woman, then I should go kill myself. That's not what this example is saying. It's saying that Mahaprabhu is saying, yes, this is the only recourse for someone who does these kind of actions. It's to make you understand that there's that some people think that Vaishnavism is like the Sahajiyas do in Vrindavan, that it's just an excuse for men to go out searching for women. And women are thinking, oh, he's a, you know, they have certain words even that they use, like, you know, like Govindamar said, in northern India, they use the word Babaji. In northern India, sometimes in ISKCON too, they would refer to women as Matajis. But that word is not used in Bengal. Matajis. You'd hear a devotee 30 years old speaking to a 18-year-old girl and saying, oh, Mataji. Is she really your mother? I know, yeah, all women are to be seen as your mother. There's that, I think, a statement by what, Chanaka Pandit? I even, you know, I can say Didi, which means older sister. That's what they say in Bengal. But I'm like 78 years old. Am I going to call an 18-year-old woman Didi, my older sister? I don't think so. I don't think that word applies to such an age difference. I think it will. I'll use that word for somebody like maybe Saraswati or Ishanuga. I might say Didi to them, although they're younger than me, because it's a respectable word. But I feel there are constraints even upon that word. I might not say it to a 15-year-old woman, Didi. What would I say? I just say her name. I just say whatever her name is. If her name is, Revati, I would say, excuse me, Revati. And then I'd ask her a question or something. I might not say Didi if there's such an age difference. Does that sound right? Come in. Oh, come in. Dhanyavad. Estoy en una reunión con Inglaterra.
Oh, okay. So,
Okay.
¿qué hora regreso?
Sí, yeah.
¿Cuánto tiempo está libre?
¿Ah?
¿A qué hora está libre?
Maybe otra media hora.
Okay, yo regreso.
Okay. Yeah, that was, I could say that was a Didi, but she's like 40 years younger than me, so I'm not saying that. But and what I was saying in ISKCON, they always say Mataji, which means mother. And all women, we can say all women are my mother, but I don't see all women as my mother. But in Bengal, they say, if you use the word Mataji, it sounds very ugly. Govindamar's talked about that. And they will say to you, hey, Babaji, where is your Mataji? Means, Babaji, you're somebody's a Sahaja in Vrindavan, and he calls himself, they refer to him as Babaji, and then somebody supposedly maybe not believing in Vaishnavism so much will say, but hey, Babaji, where's your Mataji? Means, hey, Babaji, where's your lover? That's the meaning of Mataji in Bengal. It's an ugly word that means your concubine. Huh? You get the gist, right? So they don't use that word in Bengal. They don't say Mataji. It sounds semi-pornographic or whatever. So what brought this conversation? About Chota Haridas. Chota Haridas, going back to the original thing. What are we to learn from the Chota Haridas example? I mean, suppose I give you some prasadam, like some soup, and when I serve it to you, it's bubbling, it's still boiling. It's still boiling. Are you going to just put that in your mouth? Or are you going to let it cool down a little bit? I mean, it's so hot that it's still just come off the fire. It's still bubbling. Be a little careful with that. Don't just start shoveling it into your mouth. You'll burn your insides. No, although sometimes we do drink garam jol like that. This isn't garam jol. This is just regular cold water. Garam jol means hot water. So people have different definitions of what kind of hot water that is. Somebody could say it's herbal tea, which Govindamar called haribol jol, herbal tea. Govindamar called herbal tea. When somebody said herbal tea, Govindamar called it haribol jol, and that haribol jol became another word for garam jol, which just meant regular tea. But anyway, I mean, if something's boiling hot, you're not going to just drink it, or you're not going to just start eating it. You have to be careful with that. So, I mean, maybe Mahaprabhu is teaching by this example because he knows what the Sahajiyas are making of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. What they do in the name of Vaishnavism, like in Vrindavan. We recently had one nice devotee who I won't call nice anymore because he rejected his connection with Srila Saraswati Thakur's line. He gave up on that. So I'll no longer think of him as a nice Vaishnava. I'll think of him as somebody who should understand what Mahaprabhu is trying to teach and how Srila Saraswati Thakur is applying those teachings. Why? Because we understand that Srila Saraswati Thakur established Tridandi Sannyas within our mission, although it didn't previously exist in per se among Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Oh yeah, I know Mahaprabhu took sannyas and other Vaishnavas took sannyas. There's said to be 10 sannyasis with Mahaprabhu, but generally they took sannyas within the mission of, they took sannyas from the Ekadanda sannyas, that Mahaprabhu, all right, he took from Keshav Bharati, who is we can say is a Vaishnava, but the sannyas that they were taking, they're taking, giving up their Sika, giving up the Brahman thread. That's basically, was the form at least of Mayavad sannyas. So much so that Raghupati Upajjhaya, when he met with Mahaprabhu, he offered some, gave some nice remarks to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu in turn said, what is it, Krishna Matir Asur? Do you remember that expression?
Krishna Matir Astu.
Yeah, may you be thinking of Krishna. Then Raghupati Upajjhaya understood that Mahaprabhu was a Vaishnava sannyasi. But by his outer appearance, you wouldn't know that. So it is said that in our sampradaya, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they didn't have sannyas, but that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took something from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and he gave sannyas. And this one person said, well, I no longer follow Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that person gave up their sannyas. And I remember one devotee from India, from Assam, he said he took sannyas from Guru Maharaj, and then his father told him, well, it is said that in our sampradaya, that, for instance, Srila Sanatana Goswami told to Jagadananda, when Jagadananda saw that Sanatana Goswami had some saffron cloth or some red cloth on his head, he assumed it was Mahaprabhu's cloth. And then he said, oh, this is Mahaprabhu's cloth. Oh, and he was in ecstasy. And then Sanatana Goswami said, oh, this is not Mahaprabhu's cloth. I got this from, what is his name? Mukunda Saraswati or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then Jagadananda wanted to hit Sanatana Goswami with a cooking pot. And then Sanatana Goswami said, I just did this because I wanted to see an exhibition of your intense love for Mahaprabhu. And then Sanatana Goswami said, we have no use for this saffron cloth. So one devotee's father, when he took sannyas, his father was a follower of Mahaprabhu, and he said, that Sanatana Goswami said, we have no use for this cloth. So why did you take sannyas? Because Saraswati Thakur established this sannyas to distinguish us from the sahajiyas who just dress in Babaji base and do abominable activities in Vrindavan and everywhere else. I'm sure they do abominable activities outside of Vrindavan too. They're not so selective. They don't just do heavy aparads in Vrindavan. They carry their aparad tendency to other places. Maybe even in Western lands where you don't have to stretch so much to see abominable activities just going on in the general populace. But now you've established this in the name of so-called Vaishnavism. So to distinguish your abominable activities from, at least a standard of looking at least like somebody who shouldn't be doing abominable activities, it's safer to put the person in sannyas base. Then we'll know that this person is a general or a leader of our mission until he goes outside the bounds of that dress. But this is how'd I get to this discussion?
Chota Haridas.
I'm still on Chota Haridas.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then this will Mahaprabhu will distinguish that we're not going to be doing activities like the sahajiyas do in Vrindavan and elsewhere. That under the dress of Vaishnavas, wearing the dress of the Goswamis, they'll be engaged in what we would call lascivious. Can I use that word? Lascivious activities. Meaning lustful activities, right? Lascivious. We will at least take the form of Vaishnava preachers. And then people will know that, hey, because there's also saying for sannyasis that an ink spot will be seen very clearly on white cloth, right? So maybe I'm not wearing white cloth, but the idea is for maybe a tablecloth or something else. If it's white and it's got ink on it, you can see it very clearly. So maybe with this sahajiya dress, there's so many ill-behaved sahajiyas wearing the dress of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, that's absurd. But at least let the person put on, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, to distinguish ourselves from the sahajiyas, we'll take the dress of sannyasis and brahmacharis. Because if you're wearing saffron cloth, then people will know that, hey, brahmacharis and sannyasis are just basically, in some ways, you can say they're also brahmacharis. Brahmacharis don't behave like that. That's not how a brahmachari is supposed to behave. We all know that. Maybe some institutions, they can later give up that, they can give up that saffron cloth when they get married, but not in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. You're not supposed to ever, in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, you put on saffron, you're not supposed to take it off. It's supposed to be, you wear it all the time. You don't go if you go to the gym, you wear it. If you go for a walk, you wear that saffron dress. You don't take it off. It's not part-time. If you're not going to keep on your beige, then be a white-clad brahmachari. Because a white-clad brahmachari, you can put on a pair of pants to go talk to the governor of Orissa or something like that. He can wear He can wear normal clothes if he's a white-clad brahmachari. But if you're a saffron-clad brahmachari or sannyasi, you're not supposed to take off the dress. Which I did do to go into China, because I thought when I went into China, I took off my sannyas besh and looked like a fat American tourist. So I wouldn't get all the devotees there in trouble. But I don't consider that was proper. I don't consider it was proper. I don't consider exactly that Guru Maharaj would say that that's okay. But I had no other choice. And Govinda Maharaj okayed Avadut Maharaj not dressing all the time in saffron in Russia, because obviously it's dangerous. It was dangerous to do that. To deal with, you know, if you were in Russia and you're dealing with the Russian mafia or something, which means the government, you know, you could get what do they say? What do they say? Reprisals on the other devotees. That was something that happened in Mexico against some of the drug lords in Mexico. The army fought against the drug people. And so one soldier died. And, you know, you would think, okay, soldiers are fighting against the mafia. So what the mafia did there is when the soldier died, nobody knew, you know, the identity of all the soldiers. But when they had a funeral for that soldier in his town, what the mafia did is went in and killed his father, mother, family, dog, cat, friends, and everything like that. And that was a message like, oh, you want to fight against us? This is what we'll do. Not just to you, but everyone close to you. We're going to kill them. So it was kind of sent to be a message to the army people that don't think you're going to be an unknown face, even if you die. We're going to take it out on your family. So sometimes maybe in Russia, Avadut Maharaj, he doesn't, in certain circumstances, he want to subject the devotees to what's the word? Reprisals. And when I went into China, that was the only time I didn't wear this beige. But otherwise, I'm saying Srila Saraswati Thakur had the saffron dress to distinguish us from the Sahaja Babajis that wear the dress of the Goswamis and do abominable activities. So anyway, all these things can be drawn out of the example of Chota Haridas. And really, I'm thinking about this because it's a question and it's forcing me to think about these things. Otherwise, I could just, slough it off and read the next chapter. But it's not so easy, is it? Anyway, I think I'll end here before I get in more trouble. I'm starting to make things humorous. Govinda Maharaj once told me, you shouldn't make everything humorous. We're supposed to be gambhīr, which means very serious and deep. But Govinda Maharaj, sometimes he did refer to me. And he also said that about Guru Maharaj. He said Guru Maharaj was sometimes very childish, which is unbelievable. We can't think of Guru Maharaj as like that. But he said, his nature was childlike sometimes. But we always see Guru Maharaj as super serious and And actually, I am very serious about things, but I also have a little bit of a childlike nature, which gets me into trouble sometimes when my Gurudev says to me, I have to learn to be gambhīr, serious, deeply serious. Anyway, but this example of Chota Haridas, I don't take that chapter lightly. No way I'm going to take that chapter lightly. I know, I have some idea what's there in that chapter, and it's pretty, to me, it seems like it's very more deep than instructive. It's more than instructive. It's, you know, not terrifying, but it does say that the Vaishnavas learn from that so deeply that they wouldn't associate with women even in their dreams. That's pretty deep. That's a pretty deep lesson. Because otherwise, there's a saying, drinking water underwater on a fast day. Oh, you're drinking water. Drinking water underwater on a fast day. It's a fast day, and I'm supposedly doing near Joe Ekadasi. I'm not drinking water today, but I'm in the river bathing, and nobody can see me when I go underwater, and I'll just drink some water. Who are you cheating? Oh, nobody can see me drinking water. So we're getting towards the end of our time. Did we run out of questions? Saraswati threw some questions at me, and she's not even here. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of these questions are.
They're not from her. They're from others that gave them to
What?
her to give to you.
Huh?
They're not questions from her personally. They were given to her from others. She does a little request saying, anyone got any questions this week? And then everyone sends their questions and she sends them to you.
Okay. So, did you forward any questions to her?
No, I didn't. I did last week, but that's like maybe for another day.
Okay, we heard one of the questions was not anonymous because Lakshmi Kanti said she sent it.
Yes.
So anyway, it's getting towards the end of our time. It's your time for your dinner. I'm really glad that we're off daylight savings time. I can't tell you how much I disliked daylight savings time. You know, I like it. Somebody can say, well, now it gets dark so early. Yes. What's wrong with that? You know, what's wrong with it getting dark early? I mean, if I wanted to get dark, if I wanted to be an hour later, I would move to Utah or something. Why do I want to be in a different time zone while I'm still in my same time zone? I thought the rising and setting of the sun should have something to do with this. You know, so why do people try to cheat the sun?
What time does it get dark there, Maharaj, now?
About 5:10.
Yeah, okay.
What time does it get dark there?
Yeah, 4:30.
All right, so it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
It gets dark here early. But if you really want to see where it gets dark earlier, move to some northern place like Denmark or Finland or something. I was in Denmark. Sometimes it started getting dark about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
But they also have an extremely high suicide rate as a result, Maharaj.
Who's saying that? You are.
Sure, it's true. They have like really high suicide rates in those countries. People end up just topping themselves because they never see the sun.
Oh, well. Yeah, that may be, but I can see the sun. Right now it's very sunny outside. It may not be so hot, but it's sunny. And I really very much am attuned to the sun, but I don't like daylight savings time where somebody artificially establishes more that it gets dark earlier so that people can, I think not wanting to be political, but the 1% has established that for the 99% so that they'll work more. Of course, this is not to be said.
I think that's most political decisions that are made, Maharaj, is just to exploit the 99%.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we are in that 99% because I don't know anybody who's so fabulously wealthy that they're. I think they've made wealth more easily obtainable. I don't think even nowadays, I don't even think, sometimes I guess even billionaires maybe don't get into that 1%. Well, it's become, they could say, well, being a millionaire has now become such a cheap thing. Yes, that's true. But probably even being a billionaire is becoming. They would say, we only allow billionaires. We only allow them. We only allow them just to create some illusion of distribution of wealth.
Maharaj, could you maybe explain why Madhavi is half a devotee or half of a dear devotee to Mahaprabhu?
Well, I think that half of a devotee, and it may not, in modern terms, it may not sound so good, but I think it's because she's a woman. She was considered half of an exalted devotee. And I think the whole description, according to Guru Maharaj, was to satisfy the Ariyans. So then 3.5 devotees are most confidential to Mahaprabhu when they were Ramananda Roy, Swarup Damodar, Sikhi Mahiti, and his sister Madhavi. She's the half. And Guru Maharaj said, but this list doesn't even include, for instance, Gadadhar Pandit, as being confidential devotee of Mahaprabhu, very dear. So Guru Maharaj said, this was done, it was done as, some special compensation for to satisfy the Aryan devotees. And Sikhi Mahiti was included as a half. So, then we don't have to worry about, including everybody and this and that. I mean, it was, Guru Maharaj explained it in this way, but he said half was Sikhi Mahiti's sister. So Sikhi Mahiti was a whole and his sister was considered half. And why a woman's only half? Well, a woman's not only half, but this was just, anyway, Guru Maharaj explained it in that way. He said, it says that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but this was some kind of compensation for the Arya devotees. Oh, good evening, Subhasini. How are you?
Dandavats, Maharaj. Yes, I'm good, Maharaj. Yeah. Haven't seen you for a few weeks. I couldn't join for a few weeks, but good to see you today.
Good to see you. How are things in Ireland? Does it get dark early there?
Yes, it does. It's about the same as London. Yeah, there. It's England. Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer that it gets dark early because it gives me time, it gives me an excuse for wrapping up my activities or my day earlier, which for me is nice. I rather appreciate, actually rather appreciate the change of seasons and the early darkness and all these things. I like it very much. It makes me feel like, oh, now I'm actually living my life according to the natural flow of time and the seasons and everything like that. I'm actually very happy with this. So anyway, my dandavats to everyone. It's time for your dinner, I think. Is everyone going to take dinner more or less this time, or I'll say generally, right?
Thank you very much for your reply, Maharaj. It was very wholesome and deep. Thank you very much.
Did you guys make arepas for the evening meal? See, we're in a different relationship. What's that?
Tea, like you.
Tea. All right.
Charitable Jal.
Charitable Joel. All right. So in Venezuela, you worship the arepa, but the devotees in North America, they worship the tortilla. Anyway, I'll see all of you soon. My dandavats. I hope everyone's healthy. Some of you had a nice trip going to Thailand or India, like that. I'll try to go to India also. My desire is to go to Bengal too. Really have that desire. I like that. And okay, my dandavats to all.
Dandavats.
Jai Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.